And we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Sunday night episode of Darknite Radio. I'm one co-host, Mr. Dwayne Holmes. Of course, I do have two of my other three co-hosts, Miss Jackie Brazel, and of course, Sherika Schweitzer, hiding in the distance. As you know, we're a few minutes late, always, but we are here nonetheless. And without further ado, we actually have Mr. Howie Odell joining us this evening. It's his first time ever coming on our show, and we'd like to welcome you most certainly, good sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate y'all having me on. And, like I said, coming fresh off the Sage Paracon, put on by MJ Dixon. I'm a little red, as you can tell. But, I appreciate y'all having me on.
Oh, for sure. Oh, man. So we were discussing a little bit. For those who may not be familiar with you, Howie, if you would just take a moment, kind of introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about who you are.
Sure, absolutely. My name's Howie Odell. Also go by the Mad Hatter, the Paranormal Mad Hatter, also known as the Hitman, which that's changing because of this weekend. There's a new persona that's come out of this Sage Paracon, and it's the Showman. So I'm excited about that. I think it's cute.
There you go.
It's a cute thing.
I like that.
Yeah, people are creating this persona that I am and becoming, and they add a little bit of something of them to me, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I am the host of the Orion Effect with Ron Harris Dowdy. I'm also the network director of the Riff Radio Podcast Network, found on Blog Talk Radio. I created the Rift 6 years ago, and with Sheila Gay, and we've been rolling ever since. It's a passion. It's a love. Yeah. I've been a paranormal investigator for a very long time. I'm not even going to go there. But I've worked with many places.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off by no means. Since, as you know, we were talking about prior to the show about our Paracon that we hosted. Actually, Sheila was a very good friend of mine. God rest her soul. She was actually at our Paracon, and that's when I first got to meet her. Actually,
what a bright, truthful soul that I wish the world still had. Because if they still had it, I feel this wouldn't be as bad as we are right now.
Not at all. It was. Sheila was definitely a wonderful individual. She's missed amazing. Every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And massive love to her family and her wonderful husband, Will.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hello, Rosie.
Hey, Sandy and Ginger. Just saying hi to everybody in the chat here.
Oh, and by the way, also, Howie, I did see where you were former Air Force, correct?
No.
No?
No. My father was the Air Force intelligence officer for the Enola Gay.
Oh.
Wow. Well,
yeah.
I mean,
not me. So.
But, it runs in the blood.
I'm a military brat, too. It's okay.
I have a couple family members. I actually, when I was doing Ancestry.com, I actually found my great grandfather was a pilot in World War II. He actually spoke both dialects of German, and because he was German, he was from Germany, and so that's why he was such a great asset to him. I thought that was pretty cool.
Now let me ask you a question. You brought that up, and not a lot of people realize it. When you say both dialects, are you talking about both the German dialect or German and English?
Both German. Well, he spoke English as well, but he spoke both dialects of German.
So he spoke both German and Nazi.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure that was clear because some people may not understand the Nazis did have their own language. So, absolutely.
Yep, that was pretty
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool because I mean, it was easy for him to trick him because he knew all the language. Like he knew,
and he was German.
and he was German. So
There you go.
But
There
so
you go.
you had a fun weekend at the Paracon. What else do you have coming up? Anything else coming
Oh
up?
wow. At this good question.
What?
Well, we just finished Sage Paracon, put on by MJ Dixon. What do we have? We actually have a few things in the quadrant stirring right now. We're not sure just yet. We have a couple events, and we actually got one event that we may be actually doing the sponsor and promotion for it itself. Now, I don't want to give that away just yet because it's not 100%, but there are a few things in the brew. We've got a couple events that we'll be supporting, but right now we're focusing on making sure that the network is solid in its foundation, bringing on some new shows, and making sure that we're giving the best product we can to our listeners, which are our travelers. So that's really where we're at right now.
That's pretty cool.
you had any? I haven't got to keep up with your show lately. I do apologize, but I've been so wrapped up. Have you had any awesome guests lately?
Got any coming up?
You know, well, not as of yet, because the whole show's changed. Everything's changing. This Sunday is the brand new show, the brand new format. I will say, you know, I've had magnificent guests on our show. It's hard to even go to naming because there were so many. Augie Nost, Athena Branch, or Athena Bronk, sorry. To it's just the list. Pamela Kinney, Susan Swartz, Mark. Oh man, I'm getting names mixed up now. Hold on.
They all start running together. There's so many.
It really does. It really does. Carly Hall. Oh wow. It just, you know, in 6 years of doing the show, there's been so many people on. I just don't want to call names out because we've maybe had out of 6 years, maybe 4 bad shows out of 6 years. So how can you go wrong with that? Yeah.
Right.
You know, I just changed co-host. One of the co-hosts left, and Rhonda stepped in. And Rhonda's been a friend of mine since we were both 14 years old. And she's a trained medium. Yeah, right. You have your friends coming on. How you get that? You can't get any better than that. And
right.
Yeah, her and I's paths split, and we came back together. She's a trained medium now, and you know, I work with energy and do the paranormal. So I'm doing some promoting for her, getting her out there, and I have a liable. I don't want to use assistant. She's not an assistant. It's not like that. I don't even like calling her a co-host.
Right-hand man, you know, the right-hand woman.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, something like that. I don't want to say woman, but she's a host in her own right. She brings her own power, and I think it's a wonderful thing. It's added to the show, and with the new format that we got coming out and the new look on it.
That's my daughter. She has to pop in on every show and say hi.
That's okay. Hello. So, yeah, this Sunday is going to be a whole new banner, whole new setup, maybe even a new theme song. Who knows?
That'd be pretty
that's
cool.
awesome.
All right. So we do have a question in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there.
Let Howie go first.
Yeah, we'll let you answer first, and then we'll just go down the line and tell our own stories. Said, how did y'all get into the
ghost.
paranormal hunting?
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Actually, my parents, I got the ambition from my parents. I've been into the paranormal world all my life. My grandmother was a massive ESP, influential individual here in Virginia. My father, of course, Air Force intelligence officer. He was heavily into the spiritual too. Majority of my family has some ability. I'm going to use that word because I can't stand categories.
Right.
You know, so as far as the paranormal, I started I guess 18 or 19 is when I started getting into the paranormal. I started doing investigating.
Yeah, you're good. Go
Probably,
ahead.
okay. I probably started investigating in my 20s, formally, if you want to say that.
Right.
Created my own organized team in 2011 in ASPS, and been doing it ever since. It's a passion, just like the paranormal and music. My three passions: podcasting, paranormal, and music.
There you go.
There's I don't think at this point there's nothing I haven't seen or come across, and that can be scary. But
Right.
right now, it's given me a good ground. I've learned a lot, seen a lot, and now I can share a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Those experiences, increasing our abilities, as you would say, being more open minded to different things. So, me personally, Clay, and what's up, by the way, brother? Hope you're doing well. Clay's a good friend of mine as well. So, Clay, for me, I actually, what was that, 2013 or 2012 is when I started paranormal wise. I actually lived in a house that we heard children running in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and there wasn't no children awake at that time.
Mhm.
Things would get thrown, things of that nature. And so a lot of people, back then I watched Ghost Adventures too. So that's another thing. But I like all the experiences I had, like the door opening by itself at like 3 o'clock in the morning when I know I lock them every night before I go to bed because there's a lot of crime in that town. But like, and it just piqued my interest. So, and I'd been watching Ghost Adventures, and I'm all like, well, why not? Let's check it out. I live in a haunted house, so why not? So I started reaching out to. Well, first I started going to a couple cemeteries here and there, which you got to be real careful when it comes to cemeteries, because you can get arrested for trespassing. Thankfully, thankfully I didn't. Thankfully, I didn't. But so then I started reaching out to local paranormal teams around the area. And there's actually a group called Spook Earth that was like, yeah, you can come with us. You can come with me. You can come check it out, whatever. And we actually done an old, we call it the old Arkansas Hospital. It's a miniature version of Waverly Hills. It was
Okay.
the first location I ever got to check out outside of a cemetery. And honestly, ever since that night, I've been hooked. Like the experiences I had there, the feelings, the things we seen that night were crazy. Like, and honestly, when I first started, I couldn't tell you what an EVP was. Like, I was listening, I'm all like, I don't hear nothing. There ain't nothing here.
Now he can hear them with his own ears.
Now I
even
hear
have
them
to
with
have
my
the
ears.
recorder.
I can tell you when they're around.
He'll be like, "Did y'all hear that?" I'm like,
I'll be
no.
like, "Did y'all hear that?" They'll be like, "No,
And
I
we'll
didn't
go
hear
back
that."
and listen.
Play the recorder.
And it's there.
There it is.
For me, my story's a little bit different than yours, Howie. And then for Clay, for paranormal hunting, I don't have to hunt it. It finds me.
Same.
Yeah.
Mine started out when I was like 4 years old. I started telling things. I started telling my mom the night that my grandpa was going to pass away, and certain things that was going to happen before they happened. And at the time, I didn't know. I'm 4 or 5 years old. Like, I don't know how I know these things, but coming from the religious environment that I came from, it got swept under the rug. Because the way that I was brought up, it was the devil's work, and we don't mess with that. Well, later on, come to find out, my mom had actually practiced some black magic and voodoo and had some bad experiences. So it wasn't as much as they didn't religiously believe in it. she just didn't want me to go down the wrong path. But so for years, like I had experiences, but I never really sought it out or tried to understand it. And then in 2018, me and Dwayne started working together. He was actually one of my trainers, and he's like, hey, we have this ghost group. You know, we're on break talking about Ghost Adventures because I've watched every episode of that as well. And he's like, well, we have a ghost group. You want to come check it out? And I'm like, okay. So checked out a few locations, decided to join the group, and then from the ghost hunting, quote unquote, started meeting people and learning about the different experiences that I'd had prior to just the investigation part of it. I don't give myself a label. Just me and a Hans 57. That's my experience of it.
I like that.
What?
And then with me,
Go ahead, Jackie.
we were always grown. I was forever living in haunted houses and had paranormal stuff going on all the time. And I could always sense people's emotions.
Yep.
So then after my mom passed, I found a couple groups, and then I've been with this group ever since.
Nice.
And let me tell you,
And people calling it gifts, like it, you know, I agree with the
gift and a
gift,
curse
but
at the same time.
it's a curse at the same time as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can't watch movies. Like I don't watch. There's very few TV shows that I actually watch because, like Jackie said, like feeling the emotions. Even though it's a movie, I know it's a movie. I know it's scripted. I will feel every emotion that it portrays. So I don't watch TV.
Yeah. It's understandable. It's understandable. You know what? I don't watch the TV shows anymore. I don't watch a lot of horror movies or Fangor or anything. One of the reasons is, as a paranormal investigator, we should not be doing that. These images and these thoughts actually will get trapped in your subconscious, and they have a thing called projection, which you could be in the dark and you'll never know it. One of these images could project out, and you'll think you're actually seeing something. What you're seeing is sometimes what you already seen on TV, and your mind's just going, hey, I'm going to show you a picture just the same way we see. So
Right.
I try not to let myself get led or get bled into a conscious thought from my unconscious. I got enough problems. I don't need that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. About the only thing I watch on TV anymore is like Impractical Jokers or like right now I'm hooked on this baby animal show that shows like baby animals
Lord.
and like how they're raised up and how the parent, you know, I watch stuff like that. Like I don't watch movies. I don't watch any of the paranormal stuff anymore. I'm like you. I don't watch I don't watch hardly any movies, period. Like I just don't watch movies. I just watch background noise pretty much. Something in the background for noise.
Right.
Yeah, and I could tell you paranormal wise, it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Go for it.
I've had some experiences that I'll never forget. I know plenty of people that's had experiences that they'll never forget. Actually, a friend of ours, Rick, had actually shared a story about where they was doing a private residence case, and a spirit actually grabbed him by his throat and threw him over the porch rail.
Like not a trip. Like
Yeah, like
he projected.
he literally had multiple surgeries to fix the damage that was done.
It's not all bad.
It's not all
Like,
bad.
I've had
Yeah.
good.
It's
you
not all
connect
bad.
with
I
them.
haven't experienced that a spirit that aggressive, but I've heard other people who have. Obviously, I mean, but
Holy crap!
I've had some. I've had some experiences, to say the least.
Sorry about the background noise.
Oh, you're fine.
No,
That's
I
all
think
right.
it's great.
That's fine.
We're getting
My
humor. I like it.
And just like you said before, you know, we went on all the good has a bad and all the bad has the good. So, I mean,
Right.
there's good memories and there's bad memories. And, you know, for me, I started out, like I said, you know, I'd had experiences, but never really searched it. And then when I started doing the investigations with them, I was just like, holy crap, this is nothing like what I thought it would be. Like,
TV
Right.
does not do a good job
It
of
does not
portraying the
portray-
paranormal field. I can tell you that.
the actuality. of
Look,
it.
here we go. Here we go. Go ahead,
And I'm
Howie.
not saying
I
it's
know
not
you want to
the
say something.
hunters.
Go ahead.
Like, it's not the investigators, producers, and everybody else have their hand in it as well. But unless you
I'm
had
gonna be-
like, go ahead.
I'm going to be as politically correct as I possibly can because I have some really good friends that I have met that have been on one of these shows or documentaries. Okay.
Yep.
Remember, they all state for entertainment purposes. Okay.
Right.
It states
Right.
that. Two, what you see is not at all what is going on. You don't get the whole thing. They're
Exactly.
just looking for the little parts to keep the viewer interested, which means they'll even fake evidence
Mm-hmm.
to get a response. Okay. It's been seen, it's been done. Two, you know, there's a lot of people out there. A lot of people got involved with the paranormal because of these TV shows. And so it's been a good catalyst.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now, we all started as ghost hunters. Don't lie. We were all
No,
ghost hunters.
yep.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
I started
Oh,
as
yeah.
a full-fledged ghost hunter.
So you have progression in which direction you decided to choose. You know, are you in there for the thrill? Are you there for the real science? You looking to get an explanation? So we're all doing that. Social media, as far as movies and documentaries, has been good and bad too. Some of the betrayals have been really good, but some of the betrayal on some of the TV shows is so false. But this is where I remember I said something at the beginning about para-orgy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yep.
field allowed people to come together to they can get a hit quick at these special events, at these paracons, and getting in group hookups, going to hang out with paranormal friends, and there's a lot more going on than just, oh, we're hanging out. So that's what I call the para-orgy. This field has produced just as much bad as it good. So we have to remember that. And in this, the television shows, this is where it comes full circle. The television shows encourages certain behavior. TV encourages behavior. So we have to remember that. You know, when you're doing this, what level, what stage, what is your integrity when you're doing this?
Yep.
Yep.
And going back to the shows, I do just want to say, you know, like you said, it is for entertainment. Producers, everybody else, directors, everybody else has their hands in it. That doesn't mean that, you know, the investigators that you see as the face of that show are the ones that's making those decisions as to what's put out and what you're seeing. They can be good people. That's their job. That's their job. They're doing it for the views and the paycheck.
Now here's the downfall to that, though, Sharika. I gotta be honest. Just as many good people, there's just as many that were created as egotistical, narcissistic monsters.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I agree.
There's a lot of them, male and female, that they have let it go to their head, and all of a sudden they think they're the top of the crop. When in fact, I'd rather go to University of Virginia and go to a research student and show me your work. I want to know what you know because you're going to know 3 times more than that person on TV.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'd rather talk to somebody that's been in the trenches than somebody's been having the limelight. I'd rather talk to them because they know what's going on. They're doing it all the time.
Yep. And that's what I've told Dwayne, because used to, and I think his view on it's changed dramatically, but used to, he was, well, it'd be cool to be on TV, or it'd be cool to get our own show. And I told him, I said, the moment that you sign for a TV show, I will step off the team. Because, just TV in general, like you said, is for entertainment purposes. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to become something or put on something that's not real or be somebody that I'm not to have a paycheck. I do this for the reasons that I do this. I'm fine just doing a little podcast and nobody knowing who I am.
Yeah. And this touching base back to the short topic earlier about us all starting as ghost hunters and the TV shows making us want to be involved in it.
I'm absolutely guilty of that.
And I'm not gonna lie. When I first started, my attitude was a lot like Zach Bagan's.
That's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. When I first started, I'm all like, oh yeah, excuse my language. Oh yeah, I'm a Billy Badass. I'm gonna provoke him, and then I'm gonna do this and do that, and then now I'm like, I don't do that no more. Like I'm too connected with the spirits, I guess you can say.
I treat them like I would in person, which don't get me wrong. There's people in this world that I don't like and that I'm not very nice to, and there's people that I like. So when it comes to the spirit, I go in open-minded, and if they were a bad person, then I don't like them, and I'm going to let them know I don't like your choices.
And one thing is like, one thing I've never done.
I stay true to who I am.
One thing I've never done, like a lot of the TV shows do, is everything's a demon. It's all demons. They're all demonic. There's a demon here. No, that's not. That's as far from inaccurate as you can get.
Okay.
Said,
what?
Oh, go ahead.
Where do I want to go with this? With the song?
I love your.
There was something to say, and I just like. No, I don't think I'm going to say it. What's that? I'm sorry.
I love your insight. You're so professional. I just put it out there. I'm like, here we go. But your insight, you are you can tell like you've been doing it a while, and you have a lot of wisdom with it, like for real.
It's because I paid attention to people and places and things. And I don't like to put myself above others, but at least I can teach and mentor people in the right way. You brought up something just a minute ago, and I do want to touch on it. You were talking about everything's a demon, or spirit. How Zach Bacon has this tendency of doing the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Try this. Watching somebody go from a beautiful person, and this in 1 year. 1 year. They go from a beautiful person to an absolute horrid person, lack of weight, watching them do things that they shouldn't be doing, and over excelling. No, wrong word. Over indulging in certain things, watching their mentality crash. That I feel came from provoking a spirit or spirits, and they are paying for it. I've watched this on more than one occasion, and it's sad. So if anybody thinks this is a joke or this isn't so scary, it's quite scary. And I've watched it with my own eyes, somebody completely fall apart. And they are not who they are anymore. And that's sad.
Right.
Clay, I'll get to your next question. I want to throw this in there from my own personal experience. We went to a cemetery one night, and I was not in the right emotional state. Should not have been there, but
we did have permission.
We did have permission from that one, but I was still new in it. I didn't understand protection and grounding and the different things like that. went into the cemetery, and I don't even know the right word to use. I say I was overtook. I don't think it was like I honestly don't know. But I went completely unconscious. Don't remember anything. Like the next thing I know, I woke up in a parking lot in the vehicle with my team. They had got me out of there.
Now
that was about 2 years ago.
No, smaller than that, like 3-4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago.
But
I still, to this day, if I catch myself, like the other day, I was on that side of town by myself because I do DoorDash. Okay, so I deliver food to people. Delivered the food to the house. The next thing I know, I'm sitting in the cemetery sending pictures to Dwayne. I don't remember driving there. Don't remember. And I was telling him, I was like, I was real agitated that day.
My exact
having a
words,
bad day.
Or get the hell out of there now.
I just kept telling him, I feel peaceful here. Like, I felt okay in the cemetery, even though I knew I shouldn't be there alone. Like, I'm still having issues with that entity.
And just to
or
clarify,
with that spirit, or whatever the word.
Just to clarify a bit, because she was affected. She wasn't fully aware of what was going on. Initially, she had this like cross that she wore.
Had a cross belly button ring.
Yeah, she had a cross that she wore all the time, and this spirit had her convinced that she needed to take it off. And I kept warning her, telling her not to do so. So
they were trying to get me out of there.
Yeah, me being an experienced, quote unquote, whatever that means, but being a little bit more in tune, a little bit more familiar with the whole situation, we started to coax her to get out of the cemetery. Me and Justin, another guy that was with us, we kind of pushed her, not like hard, like was pushing her, like forcing her to go out of the cemetery, because we knew what was about to happen. And things were going crazy, man. Like, we had the ovulus going, and it was saying, like, taking person. And the ovulus, I'm very skeptical of a lot of times, because if you touch it, it'll talk, say words. I've noticed that. But that time, it was taking personal shots at all of us, like deep personal things. It was calling out on the ovulus. And we had another guy, Tim, with us, and he turned around. His face was white as a ghost. There's a lady in a white dress that crossed the dirt road. We seen her with our own eyes. And she collapses. And once we got her out of the cemetery area, onto the dirt road, she collapsed. Well, so we're trying to get her to the car, and it's 3 dudes. Laura and the other girl that couldn't be on here tonight, she's on vacation. She went to go get the car. So now somebody drives by, and we got it's 3 dudes, and Sherika's collapsed on the ground. And so, no, Lord knows what they were thinking. But I was like, "Is she all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, she'll be all right." And so me and Justin are like doing, I guess you can call it an exorcism. I don't really want to call it that, because I'm not an exorcist priest by no means. But basically, me and Justin had to spiritually pull the spirit out of her.
And I was
and that was my first time I've ever had to do that. And I can tell you from that happening was one of the scariest moments of my life.
I don't really like. I remember being there, but I don't really remember. Like, I remember being at the grave that I was at, and saying that he wanted me to take my cross off, and that was the last thing I remember. When I came to, I was so nauseous, and I was physically sick for about 4 days after that. Like, I never called into work. I was a single mom. Like, that's my income, I called into work for like 4 days straight, fixing to go to the hospital, physically sick from it.
Did you ever have any mental issues, like wanting to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else? Did you, when you say physically sick, how are you physically sick?
Very nauseous, didn't have any energy whatsoever, bad headache. Just like it felt like my whole body hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was nauseous and I had the headache, but outside of that, it was like my whole body just hurt.
Yeah, it sounds like an attachment.
But like I said, I still have to be careful if I deliver over in that area. There's a big housing complex over there that orders. Cause like I said, like that I don't know, that day I was just having a rough day and kind of in a bad mood, and the next thing I know, like I'm sitting in the cemetery. I can't tell you how I got there. And when I was sitting there, like I didn't feel upset no more. I felt completely at peace. And Dwayne's like, Sherika, you need to leave. You need to get out of there.
It sounds like an attachment.
I did. I mean, I left, and when I left, I felt really sad. Like I wanted to turn around and go back. And then when I got a couple of miles away from it, I was fine. I was back to okay.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So yeah, it is scary. So I know they've talked a couple of times about going back to investigate there, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll stay home that night. I don't think I want to go back and investigate.
Yeah, no way.
Let me tell you.
Outside of that, I haven't had any like really bad, so to speak, experiences. I mean, I've had some that I've gotten called some names or something like that, but I mean, that's the only bad experience I've had.
I'm gonna just touch base. I'm not saying, I cannot say that that's a demon. That
I don't
there's a
feel
demon
like it was
that's
demonic.
there, and it's not. I don't really, like she said, I don't get like a demonic type vibe. But I can tell you that cemetery, there's been 5 murders at the pond next to the cemetery.
It's on the same lot.
It's on the same land area. There has been witchcraft, satanic worship done in the cemetery. A friend of mine, her ex-boyfriend was actually into that thing, and that's actually one of the spots that they go. There's also a lot of
animal sacrifices and stuff like that.
There's also been a lot of drug activity, drug exchanges, because it's right there on the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line. So there's
literally
a lot of,
half of it's in Arkansas and half of it's in Oklahoma.
Half the cemetery is split by 2 state lines. And so and actually one of the murders that took place there was Lauren, who's not with us tonight. Her best friend was murdered out there, and in a pretty sick way. When I say murdered, it was pretty gruesome. It was pretty gruesome. They done some things.
Right.
And like that cemetery has never, like I said, I never really got demonic type, because I don't call out demonic. I'm not, like I said, I'm not Zach Bagans. But like I can tell you, there's definitely some darkness in that cemetery, some very wicked spirits, like not nice spirits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, malicious or malevolent. Absolutely. Yeah, it could be even. Yeah.
Well, it could be what?
Malicious or malevolent spirits. Yeah. Or just a spirit that's trying to attach to get back and utilize her as a ride. It just happens, and that could be the distance thing. That's very well possible as well. Majority of the time, that's what it is. Your attachment's trying to attach itself to your energy for whichever reason it may be. Not all attachments are bad. However, a free ride is a free ride. If it can utilize a way to get out of its situation, I'm sure it would. Wouldn't you, as a human?
Right?
Wouldn't you? They're no different. They're just in a different energy form now.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. And so, Clay did have another question for
that kind of tied into my. I read Clay's.
Before I forget, Clay did have another question. He said, "Where's a place?" And this is going to be a hell of a tough one, I'm sure, for all of us. Where's a place that y'all have seen the most activity at?
I'll give you a minute to think because I already know mine.
Public
The most?
or non-public?
Yeah, there we go, Clay. Public or non-public?
Yeah, that's a good one. Public or non-public? I already got. I got several in mind, but I got
the old
one.
Arkansas hospital that Dwayne was talking about. It's a mini Waverly, so I would have to say between that place is. It's not a well known one. It's never been on TV, anything like that. It's still operational, so we can't say the exact name, so we have to call it the Old Arkansas Hospital.
Oh, I know where you're talking about.
That place is crazy every time I've been. Yeah. Every time.
Like, there's some locations.
And we've been there a lot.
There's some locations where you go where you're like, there ain't nothing going on. That one, every time I've went, there's been some type of activity. What's up, Michelle LeBaron?
And Linda.
Sorry,
got sidetracked in the comments.
But for me, I would say that's probably one of the top. That's probably my favorite location that we go to religiously. Outside of that, which I won't go there. I won't go there now for certain reasons. There's a lot of things going on at the moment with that location. But for me, Waverly Hills. The second time wasn't as bad. Still got a lot of activity. The first time was crazy. Like, it affected all the men. All the men were affected in a way. And actually, I had a guy tell me that there's no negative at Waverly Hills. I could tell you that there is. Yeah, he's leaving out. He's like, come on now. I'm all like, come on, that's incorrect. Incorrect.
Now, that's why I say that's why I put Arkansas Hospital before Waverly, because the first time we went to Waverly, it was very active. And actually, there's some things about there I'm not going to speak on air, but if we have a few minutes afterwards, I'll tell you our Waverly story. But the second time we went, like Dwayne said, I mean, there was some activity that we caught, but
it was a peaceful activity.
It was nowhere. It was like completely different. The one in the one in Arkansas, it's consistent every single time you go. Right. That's why I picked it over Waverly.
Yeah, and ain't nobody been able to investigate in the one in Arkansas in 2 years. Thank you, COVID. But we actually are getting to return there.
It's not just COVID.
Yeah. We are getting to return there in July. I actually booked 3 dates, is how bad I missed the place.
We were already supposed to get to go back, but their opening date got pushed back again. So fingers crossed everything works out. We'll get to go in July. What was your place that you would say?
Privately, there's a location called Belle Nemes in Powhatan, Virginia. That is my love. That is the place that taught me and my team. It's the place where we trained for 2 years. It is a location that gave us so much that only people wish they could get this in a year, what we got in one shot, and we had 2 years. So It was amazing, scary, truthful, honest, and enlightening. So we'll say that. As far as public location, I'm going to give you and ask you a question, then I'll tell you where it is. If you were doing a public ghost hunt, right? Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. If you were doing a public ghost hunt and you have 54 people down in a foyer, and all 54 people heard an entire conversation coming up from the second level of this location, And then on the third level, you could hear furniture moving, and all 54 people heard it. You go upstairs with another gentleman, and you do a clean sweep, and there's nobody up there, and there's no furniture. I think that says something about the location, don't you?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this was
Yeah.
Selma Mansion in Norristown, Pennsylvania. This happened. It has now Michelle's on, so I'm pretty sure Michelle's been to Selma. In fact, I'm pretty sure you have, right, Michelle? But it can give some very interesting results, and not in anticipated expectations. But it's also the only places I have been that everything shuts down at 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, there's nothing. It'll tell you good night and nothing will happen. Now, that's with me and my crew. Were they being respectful and saying, hey, we're going to bed. We're not, messing with you no more. Or were they just saying, we're tired or we're resting and we're going to do this. We'll see you in the morning. Because a lot of activity does take during the daytime. It is. And I'll give you an example. All right. Example of daytime. Myself and God rest his soul, Bill Freeman, were sitting at the dining room table with 4 or 5 other people. And he had an EMF reader that somebody had given him. Okay. Now, this was the old school K2. You had to push the button to turn it on. You familiar?
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So I tested it myself. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I mean, that does a good testing for, doing a flat base. So I sat it down right beside me, which was between myself and Bill Freeman. God rest his soul once again. As we're talking, we're talking about paranormal and spiritual and talking about general conversation. As I look to my left, Bill's looking to his right, and we're watching the meter go moving by itself. It had no power. None.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So the LED lights were going off as we were talking, and we were at least a foot away from each other. So, it was right there in the middle of us.
Right.
I wish I had a camera to show that. That's just one of 100, if not more, of experiences that I had at Selma. I saw Miss Flornance actually flow across from the left bedroom, second floor, to her bedroom in the right, and she was in a full silhouette. There wasn't like shadow, like this was completely cut out silhouette, and she just strolled right across in front of me. And I was sitting there getting ready for a public event. We stayed at Selma. We're in a few crews that would stay there. And I'm walking up, carrying up, our bags to the second floor bedroom. And out of nowhere, we're talking about, I guess, 2:00 in the afternoon, stroll right across. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a fun weekend,
Right.
So,
That's going to be exciting.
right.
And that's the other thing is everybody seems to think that paranormal only happens at night. And I'm like,
oh, no.
No.
Not
It
even close.
happens. I think I've had more experiences, honestly, daytime than I have at nighttime.
The only reason you investigate at night is because it cuts down on evidence contamination. That's it. That's it.
Pretty much.
You think your eyes adjust better at night? No, they don't. During time investigation, you can catch more than you do at night. The only problem is road traffic, air traffic, HVAC, whatever's running during the day, whatever is driving by you. It's louder because the air is more dense. So it's echoey. It gives more contamination. There's more shadow play because light is coming through the window. That's it. That's the only reason we investigate at night. Sorry, folks. That's the truth.
Nope. And I don't know how you do it. And your comment that you said about you wish you had a camera. I got into I had a polite debate, I'll say, with a guy one time because we were investigating. They called it a little village. And what it was like old historical buildings that they had bought or saved from being torn down, and they moved it all on this piece of property. And there was like an old church building, and an old barn. There was one that had been a general store. So they called it the Village, because it was just a bunch of different random buildings from way back in the day that they had moved and put on the same piece of property.
Okay.
And we went down there to check it out. There's a cave that runs underneath one of the buildings. And we went to check it out. And we went down during the daytime, walking around during the daytime. And it was starting to get kind of early evening. And one of the girls said, hey, there's this guy I know, and he used to host tours out here. Because I was asking questions about the buildings and the history and stuff. And she said, he'd know way more about that than what I do. Do you want me to see if he'll come out here and talk to you? I was like, yeah, you can, knowing some of the history would be really nice. And she brings him out here, or she got him out there, and he starts right off the bat. Well, we're supposed to be having rain and stuff move in, and that's going to mess with your electronical equipment. Okay. He's like, well, what's the point of y'all even investigating out here then? And I was like, because the equipment's fine. I like to use it, but I don't require equipment. And he kept going, and I said, you tell me one piece of equipment that don't have a fault in it. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, name one piece of equipment that we use in the paranormal field that doesn't have a fault in it somewhere. And he's like, well, they all have faults.
Right.
And I said, exactly. So you're arguing over nothing, because they all have faults, whether it's raining, whether it's not raining, whatever. I don't rely on the equipment. I said, did you think that maybe I'm here to investigate for myself? I said, catching evidence is amazing, especially when you've got the proof that, this is what it is. Absolutely amazing. Love to catch stuff like that. But that's not my sole intent when I go on an investigation. And he just it just completely blew his mind. And he was like, didn't really even want to tell me the history of it, because I wasn't there to use equipment. I was like, whatever.
Right. Yeah. The thing is majority of all this equipment comes from something else, and majority of it's come from home building supplies, or product knowledge. Okay.
Yep.
It's the same thing as a K2 meter. It's an electrician's tool. Okay. The one thing that I don't see anybody carry, I'm gonna ask y'all. Anybody?
The one thing you don't see somebody carry.
What's the one thing that everybody should carry?
That everybody what?
Should carry.
Should
a recorder.
Carry.
A recorder's the only thing I carry.
Believe it or not, it's not just the recorder. It's not the recorder. And it's another piece of equipment that electricians use, and it can give you a nearby stability. Okay? If everyone carried what they call a power pen in their pocket, just goes right in your pocket. It's only about this big. It looks like a pen. Got a little button. Everybody wants to talk about, I just got touched or whatever. Now, this is based on the theory that spirits are all energy and they're all detectable by EMF readings. Sorry.
No, they're not.
That this has some kind of, now, if you have that power pen, it's like $42. You can have it on you, and it's just like a wand, and you can go, touch it, but it's your personal. It's not affected by you, but it's going to be affected by direct and active current. It's the same thing as an EMF reader. Okay, you just have it in your hand, and it's you activate it. An EMF reader, or K2, is designed to pick up electromagnetic forces.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got into an argument with, I would like to say a discussion. Let's put it that way.
Right.
This individual was a little hard-headed by telling me this, that EMF readers tell that there's a ghost around.
Oh, Lord.
No. You can hold it next to a cell phone and it'll go off, or a camcorder, or wires in the wall.
Now,
Wow.
hold on. I'm going to ask this question. And I see a lot of your wonderful fans on, and thank you all for joining. Where is it said in any paranormal doctrine that an EMF reader detects the presence of an entity or ghost?
I haven't seen one.
Never seen it.
No! Only because they've heard it through the Warrens. Now, Ed did use an EMF reader, okay? It can detect electromagnetic forces. But what people fail to know is the scientific side. There is a thing called a static cloud that roams the earth. It's a little small compact of thunderstorm, okay? This is what some people see as an orb sometimes, and sometimes it's a clear, clear cloud that just roams, and that's what they're picking up. This is the static boom that some people have caught on picture that has little static shoots coming out of it. All right, so it is the biggest misconception, I think, in the paranormal field. So I want people need to know that. It's used to do a base count. Yes, when you're doing your start, you're going to check out your electricity, what's hot, what's not, da 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 da. But this just is one example of a tool. These are just tools that somebody thought that maybe work. You want to try something? I'm going to give you a secret. You guys want to try something? And you know what? I'll give it to y'all right now. You go out there and get the high quality multimeter that has amps, and I guarantee you're going to have a better hit than an EMF reader. Yeah. I think we're looking in the wrong direction and the wrong things. So what you should do is be looking at amperage of issues and locations. You'll find that a 1.5 to 1.56 is a human amp. Anything above or below that, there's a questionable activity.
Right.
Why are we looking at electromagnetic fields? They're
everywhere,
manipulated by lie lines, by atmospheric changes, by polar changes. Wrong. Go to amps and frequency. That's where
and I'll
we
tell
need
anybody,
to go.
I'm not a skeptic of the paranormal field. I'm skeptic of what people put out as evidence because of all of the tools and equipment and the different things that everybody use.
Yeah.
Okay. Amanda, I see Amanda's comment. I've got to go there. And I see where she's going with the Ouija board. It's a divination tool. Okay. I don't deal with Ouija boards. All right. Just because of personal experiences when Rhonda and I were 14. Now we were 16. However, I know people who can use a Ouija board and use it professionally and use it to their benefit, and they open and close it properly. Mm-hmm. It's just like using dowel rods. They're all divination tools. So, it depends on who's controlling it, and how much they understand of opening and closing, controlling a portal, anything like that. So I get your point, Amanda, but I'm not so against them. I just don't do it.
We have used Ouija boards. We had a lady that was on our team that had used them for years.
She's
coming
used them.
From the background that I come from. The religious aspect of it. I personally don't feel comfortable using them. I have a time or two just to experience it, but that's not my cup of tea. My team does.
Right.
They use it as a communication tool. Lauren loves the Ouija board. That's one of her favorites, I think.
Now,
there you go.
Yeah, and in that, now we're not going to go.
We always do ask for permission because of people's thoughts and theories on it.
We're not going to go to a private home and be like, "Oh, we're going to break out this Ouija board for you. We got y'all. We're going to take care of you."
Now there was one private residence that we did. That lady went crazy, so we just quit going because we felt like we were going to get murdered. But
Right.
Come to find out, like we would cleanse the house, do all of that. Things would be good for a little bit, and then she'd start having activity again.
Mhm.
Well, we was up there one time, and her neighbors were there, and she lived on the lake. So a lot of the neighbors, like a lot of the houses were just like vacation houses. People didn't stay in them year round, but she did.
Right.
Her neighbors would come up and have these parties and get drunk and use the Ouija board. So they kept bringing things back. And by the end of it, this lady had told us how she had planned to murder her neighbor and how she was going to get away with it, like in details. And she was going to sacrifice a goat, and she was going to sacrifice a hoe. And like, so we were like, for our own safety, we're not going to go back because she could plot how to murder us and get away with it. So we're just, no.
Okay, hold on. Here's a good point. I'm going to bring this up. Can a location, an entity in that location provoke a response? And I'm going to use this sexual response or a physical response. You're already saying that she messed with the Ouija board and she was talking like she could kill somebody. What we failed to think about is, what if an entity can provoke a sexual response and change and make that person more aggressive or less aggressive sexually? Here we go again. These are different things that we don't think about. But yeah, people want to go and provoke and it's scary. People don't get it.
Exactly.
I've watched so many of these professional, dare I use that word?
No such thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Experienced investigators get in themselves in a lot of trouble, and they say, "Oh, I am protected and I'm not scared of anything." Really?
It can happen.
You can always be touched.
That's what we think happened with her, honestly.
Sense. It don't matter.
Honestly, in my belief, I'm not going to speak for the rest of my team, but in my belief, I think that did have an effect on her.
Possibility.
Us going and doing the cleansings and doing that, and she kept inviting it back for our safety. I hate to turn anybody away that needs help, but we had advised her and cleansed and done everything, and at that point, for our safety, we couldn't return.
Right. Totally understand.
Yeah. Attachments are definitely not fun, Amanda.
No.
Not all of them are bad. Some of them
just need our help. Some of them are lost, confused. They don't really know.
Some of them are guides, like our spirit guides. I think are a form of attachment.
Sharika, you're exactly right. They become a guide. They become something to guide you because they are out to defend you. Not all. These are rare occasions, by the way, too. But they can become like a spiritual intuition.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. This is true. I learned at Edgar Cayce Institute. Absolutely.
Yep.
But there is a lot of them that do try to use us in a sense to
absolutely
further their ambitions or whatever you want to call it.
Well, they're all using us.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to get their story to be heard.
Yeah, even if it's to get their story. Some of them have foul intentions. But there again.
But, like I said, that experience I had was the only quote unquote bad experience that I've had since I've started. And I've not near as many years in as you, but a couple of years in, and that's the only.
I see in chat that they're talking about energy work now. That's interesting. I see Linda has made a comment, and she said you can be touched by a past lover. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just because they're not dead doesn't mean there can't be or they can't create a bridge to you or a tether, and can be bad or good. So good point, Linda, and you're exactly right. Past lover can touch you, and not physically. They can do it. They can do it mentally and spiritually, and they can have bad intent towards you. And
Yep.
intent is a powerful word. It could be good and bad too. Good point, Linda.
We're actually going to get to meet Linda in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're going to get to
2
meet
weeks.
Linda in 2 weeks. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
There you go.
Yeah, Linda sends our kids packages. Like they do, like her daughter owns like a jewelry-ish shop. They make like different types of protection jewelry and just cute
beautiful
little jewelry for kids and stuff. It's pretty awesome.
I can never remember the name of it. I know I'm bad, but
we actually deal with a group called Crystal Infinity that does very similar work, and they work with us, and they, you know, they feel like, hey, you need this, they'll send it. And so it's really cool to have someone who works specifically with stones to be watching our back too. So
yes,
that's really cool.
It is really nice.
Actually, since y'all are talking about that, Linda, I actually done an old nursing home here in Arkansas, and they had a particularly friendly male spirit in the women's bathroom of all places that would like to get a little that would like to get a little handsy with the women as they was trying to use the restroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Or the butt talk. Yeah.
Well, there's one. Oh, go ahead.
All I was going to say is you are in your past or in your spiritual life as you were in your living. So if you were a horny man or a horny woman, it's not just men, you're probably going to be the same depending on where you're at. And wow, this could lead to a whole nother conversation that I'm not.
There's a place here in the town that we live in, which we live in a really small town. Like even people that's from this area, most of them have never even heard of the town that we live in. But there used to be an old brothel here back when in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the building is tore down, and they built a house on the land. And we used to get to investigate it.
Now the spirits of the brothel have took over the house they built there now.
They're attached to the land. It don't matter what building you put there. They're there because of the land. But we were investigating there one night, and things had gotten, it was real quiet, not a whole lot happening, and just being silly, late night, lack of sleep, being silly.
Right.
One of the investigators was sitting in a recliner, and he's like, well, if y'all get bored, y'all can come sit on my lap.
Oh, Lord, yes.
And it wasn't maybe a minute later, we got the camera on him, facing in the living room area, and we're all sitting there. You see his pant leg move, and he jumps up, and he's like, it felt like somebody just sat on my lap. And I said, well, you asked for it.
Yep, you asked for it. Exactly right.
Yep, they are how they were in life. They are in the past. And comments, you get some comments that you wish you wouldn't have heard.
Yeah, that's true.
Amanda says we had 2 cleanses, bloody thing, dinner, time up a ladder, dug me so hard in my ribs it winded me. I fell down the stairs, fleeing the help. We couldn't fault them. A female spirit. Her life was a better family, close. I understood. He angered my dog. On the other hand, was terrified of her. LOL. Yeah, you got to be careful.
Somebody had mentioned haunted dolls too. That I feel like they can attach to things as well. Definitely.
So absolutely, if they can manipulate something, they can attach to it.
Yep.
And dolls seem to be one of their favorite things to manipulate.
You got to think majority of the doll owners were children, and that is where the shield, the blinders are lessened. They're completely open, so this gives that entity or spirit control in some instances, but also gives inward connection, outward connection. So using that doll as a connector to the child, why wouldn't it? Of course it's going to
Exactly.
do it.
Right.
Because a
Exactly.
doll is what a child trusts.
Yep.
Yep. Now I got a question for you, Howie.
Yeah.
How do you feel about mirrors? Do you believe there's a connection with mirrors on the other side?
Absolutely. I think mirrors can be used as a portal. I think that entities may be able to use it to jump through, to go from one mirror to another.
Jonathan?
What's that? I'm sorry.
She's hollering at her son.
Oh, okay. I do think there is something to mirrors, and I do believe the spiritual world. Now, here's another thing. Do you believe in the upside down? Do you believe on the other plane?
Yep.
It's on belief. But you asked me a direct question, I'm answering it. Yes, I believe mirrors do play a huge part in the spiritual world.
And I'm gonna tell you just that. And actually, like back when we first started, back when I first started, that Sherika and Jackie weren't even on the podcast. Like when we very first started, it was just me and Justin, a guy that used to be with us. And so we done an episode called "Do You Believe Mirrors Are a Portal to the Other Side?" And we used to do before we had guests, we used to do just like different topics, all kinds of things. So we done episodes where we studied the occult,
Sandy G,
all kinds of stuff, Satanism, of course, Wicca, all the things that people are quote unquote terrified of. But it was pretty interesting the amount of stuff you learn once you start researching. And I can tell you from experience, some of my best stuff that I've experienced has been from mirrors.
Yeah.
Like one day, in an apartment I lived in, because it was super active, like my roommate's girlfriend had a little kid, and he seemed real perturbed by a spirit of some kind. And there was other spirits. Of course, you live in an apartment complex, so there's going to be, ain't no telling what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we set up like 4 mirrors in like a circular pattern. And like, you wouldn't believe the amount. And of course, there's matrixing and stuff, but these were like crystal clear faces showing up in the mirrors. Like they were communicating, and they were using those mirrors to fly back and forth through the portal.
So Jerry had a good question on that. He said, what about TVs when they're turned off?
Depends on what kind of TV it is. That's my opinion.
I've never thought of TVs. Like the whole mirror thing, I've never experienced it. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, so I'm just kind of, I'm not going to say I believe or I don't believe, because I haven't done enough or had enough experience myself to say one way or another on those.
Yeah. No, if it's a tube TV, I think you have more of a chance because of design, how it's set up, how its components are. More of the modern TVs, I don't think you're going to have the same result. It's not set up the same way. But again, didn't we say at the beginning that spirits can manipulate anything? So,
right, so that's what I was going to say. I mean, spirits don't have the physical.
They don't have a sense of time like we do.
Exactly.
So
people need to understand.
Personally, I think they can attach to anything, or and like I said about the one, it could be manipulated. Yeah. They could be on the land too. Like even if that particular building is tore down, they could still be there through the land.
Now, what if the TV was on? Here's another good point. I can understand where they're coming from with this now. And Jerry, if you have a modern TV on, could it have the ability to be able to open or close a possible portal? I used to think no, but I watched my father and my mother go through dementia and those type of things. And the last couple of weeks before they both passed, they were seeing spirits and entities, and they were talking to the TV. So going back and thinking about that, that's a great point, great question, a great statement. As far as that goes, if the TV's on, I can't say no. It is a possibility. I think it is a possibility, especially with this new technology that's out.
Yep.
As technology grows, so does our ignorance. Did you hear what I just said?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
does our ignorance. That's right. And people,
I'll throw out another controversial point here. You kind of touched on it earlier too, as far as a lot of people say, oh, well, you take your kids on investigations. Yeah. I don't take them to just any location. I wouldn't take my kids to Waverly, or I wouldn't take my kids, like I said, just anywhere, only certain locations.
Right.
But yeah, I do take my kids for the fact that, I trust my team and myself to be able to keep an eye on them.
Right.
To know people that we could reach out to for help if something was to happen and it was something that we couldn't handle on our own.
Exactly.
But why not? Why not take them? Why not experience them when they're young in a protected, so to say, environment?
Well, how are they going to learn? Wouldn't you rather you teach them the proper way than to have somebody that's ignorant or foolish to take them out, or they're going to learn on their own and then they get themselves in trouble?
That's my thing, like when I started out, I went because I seen it on TV, and Dwayne's I got a ghost group. Okay, let's go. Not saying anything about Dwayne.
TV does not portray it,
but
like it really is. I can
also,
tell you that.
Yeah.
On the other sense, I believe that they can be very helpful too.
Yes.
In a cemetery that we went to, and it wasn't the same cemetery that the bad stuff happened to me. It was a different one. That we did have permission to be at. My daughter communicated with a little child that was there, and was able to help that child. Like you said, children, I feel, are more open. They haven't been taught to not believe. They haven't been, society hasn't shaped them. They're more open. They're more susceptible to it.
Exactly. Society manipulated their thought process on how they learn, what their experiences are, and the filters of their psychological and spiritual connection.
Yep. And, like I said, yeah,
you're good.
Okay, we may have something special. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Jerry, we'll bring that up here in just a moment. I personally don't know a lot about table tipping. I know Linda has talked about it. I kind of know what it is, but I'm not very familiar with it. But we'll definitely bring it up to Howie and see what he said.
And Sandy, that's crazy. We've had similar experiences. You've been following us long enough too, Sandy, that, we've had a lot of crazy shit happen.
All right. Guess not. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. You're good. You're fine.
Yeah, I have company from out of town, and I was like, uh-oh. And I was going to go check on them, and I didn't know how much longer we were going to be on. So I was like, let me check. So, yeah.
Oh. Well, we can cut it off whenever you're ready. You just let us know. We say an hour, but sometimes they run for,
I can talk all night long, and I would love to come back on with y'all.
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
Definitely.
If y'all
let me ask one more question real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Since you've got company, but I already told him when you stepped away, I'd ask you. Hey, Jerry said, what about this table tipping? I have one, and his name is Murphy. I don't know much about table tipping. I've heard of it. I personally, there again, kind of like with the mirrors, I don't know enough about it to say what I believe and what I don't believe.
Edgar Casey believed in it. I want to say one thing. We've got to remember the paranormal can be just a state of illusion. Science can elude us. The spiritual world can make it seem like it's one thing and it's not at all. So life itself is an illusion. We have unique abilities as humans to do things that we're not even capable of. Connecting with each other, connecting with the spiritual world, utilizing the conscious collective to do things with and for us. Can tabletopping be a form of spiritual communication? Maybe. Most likely, no. Table tipping, like some parlor tricks, are merely the use of science and psychology based on the individual and the group of a common goal achieving through osmosis of thought or transfer of energy from item to material, and you're all in sync. It's no different than lifting your friend by 4 around with your fingertips and just rising them up because you're all in the same psychic realm. You're all utilizing the same mental ability, so you're all focusing on one location. It's science. Can spirits utilize that? Sure they can. They're energy, right? So I can't say no. But most likely my answer would be no, it's not spirits.
Like I said, I've heard it. I've seen some people use it. So I've personally don't know enough about it to say yes or no. I'm kind of like you though. Well, a little bit. My outlook on it is I believe anything's possible because, like
anything's
you said,
possible.
Spirit can manipulate anything. So
yeah, you can't say no. There is no
it's
no.
just like with all of our equipment. Like, can some of it be spirit? Yeah, definitely. Spirit can use the tools that we use to communicate. Every time they hit, is it a spirit? No.
Right. I see Jerry is putting out there, come to the 1912 historic. I know the Hoover House very well and experienced it. And a good point, Jerry. I've been to many locations where table tipping takes place. Some of it is natural forces. Some of it is human forces. Could it have been spiritual? Sure. I'm not going to turn down or say no. And, a chance to come to Hoover House, I'd take it. Why not?
Oh, I'd love to check out the Hoover
I don't think
House.
there's any place that bothers me with the exception of 2 locations. There's 2 places that I have an issue that I may not want to go to. The first one is Aleister Crowley's cabin because I'm a Newsian. And the second, maybe Bobby Mackey's, but I don't know. I don't have
twice.
to. Well, see, I haven't. And I don't want to say, oh, I'm going to go there, I'm Mr. Badass, and then I get my ass spiritually served, right? I'm not about that. But being a Newsian, Aleister Crowley used Venusian and other types of magic to do some bad, pardon my English, Saxon, but some bad shit. And that's a lot of bad juju. So I have no care to go to Aleister Crowley's cabin. Other than that, I'm good. Let's roll.
Right.
Yeah, we went to Bobby Mackey's, and actually, I'm good friends with Bishop Long. As you know, he was on Ghost Adventures when they went there on their first or second episode of that place or whatever. And Bishop Long actually said during that time, none of that was staged. Whenever he was there, that really happened at Bobby Mackey's. Like he said that. Go ahead.
When we went, us girls got rushed out of the basement when we was down there by the portal to hell. We were all standing there. Kind of freaked us out because I had turned my cell phone completely off, like powered it off, had it in my back pocket. We were standing in a circle and we were hearing like noises come from behind us. And I would turn around and it would be behind me. And I pulled my phone out of my pocket and the noises was coming out of my phone with it completely powered off.
Right.
And we were sitting there kind of, like, okay, trying to get it on film or on the camera. The cameras quit working. Like, it shut down all of our electronical stuff that we had down there. And then at the same time, like, all of us felt it because we all ran to the door. And you've got 4 or 5 females trying to get out of one little ass door at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, like, rushed up on us. The second time we went, had some activity, but nothing like that.
Ooh, Amanda said, got to come to England. I'm coming soon, England. Trust me, because MJ Dixon has invited me to come over there. So trust me, England, I may be coming to visit you very soon.
Oh, man.
I also want to say, you're talking about Bobby Mackey's. Now, I'm going to let you on in a secret. One of the hosts of my network, Joni Templeton Skinner, owned the bar next door.
Ah.
So I've got some insight on that one. So if you want to check out True Crimes, come on over to the blog, Talk Radio, check out True Crimes, Mysteries Behind the Veil. Joni Templeton Skinner, she actually owned the bar next door. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, that's definitely interesting.
We'll wrap it up though, because he's got.
Yeah, you got out of town company. Definitely have to bring you back on again.
Definitely bring you back on.
Make sure there's a lot of time to talk.
We've had them run up 2.5.
We've had 3-hour shows. It just depends on the guests. I mean,
just don't do it on Sunday night.
Usually we leave it up to the guests how long they want to stay on most of the time. I'm not one that's like, hey, hurry up. We got to get you off here as quick as we can. But nonetheless, like you said, you was asking about us coming on your show too. We would love to. Anytime.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
But
just as a closing, if you want to tell people about your podcast, what time they can listen in.
For those that ain't here,
that
wasn't here earlier.
Whatever information you want to put out there.
Sure. Before I jump out of here, I am the Riff Radio Podcast Network Director. My show is The Orion Effect. It's on Sunday nights, usually. This was a special night. My show is with Rhonda Harris Dowdy. And we go from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show is spiritual, paranormal, and the supernatural, but it's also about how the universe affects us and how we affect the universe. Monday nights, you can find Sherry Lynn at Haunted Tales from the Old Rocking Chair at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesday nights, as we just talked about, you can find Joni Templeton Skinner. Again, Sherry's a co-host over there, and Christy Goings. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And returning in August will be several of our old shows. I don't want to say anything about that yet because we've got some really special things about to take place. But you can find us right here on Facebook. You can find us on Blog Talk Radio. Touch base with us. Check us out. I'm always open. You can send me a friend request. I'll talk to anybody. And you know what? I'm open to all opinions. Just don't insult me because I may return the favor.
Right?
That's anybody.
And sometimes it's okay to agree to disagree. We don't all have to have the same viewpoints. Just be mature.
I don't always wear a white hat. I'm not always a nice guy. I put that plain.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
When you're in the white hat, you remind me of a time traveler.
See, my fans are the travelers. That's who we are. That's the way we roll. That's what we do. That's what I'm an energy alchemist. So yeah, brother, I get you.
That's awesome.
I thank you for that, by the way. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
And like Sandy said, I agree with her, and then we'll roll out. She said this was quite interesting tonight. Thanks for coming on, Howie. And like I said from the beginning, your insight and stuff is just amazing. Absolutely.
Love your knowledge, brother. Always have, always will.
Just
Appreciate
your energy,
it.
your vibe, all of that is absolutely amazing. So
Thank you. And I plan to come back. Y'all just give me a date, and it's not on a Sunday night. We're good.
I got you. We'll rearrange it just for
We'll
you.
do a special
We'll
show
do a
for you.
special
You got a
show
special
just for
for
you.
us to come on. We'll do a special show for you.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
But everybody, you've been
All right.
amazing. Thank y'all so much.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your company.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you all
And
so
thank you,
much.
everybody, for tuning in with us and Howie and hanging out on this lovely Sunday evening. We'll be back at 8 Central Standard Time next Sunday night as we welcome Miss Shauna Winkle to the show for the first time as well.
Oh, there you go.
So make sure y'all come and check that out. Howie, thanks again, brother. You have a wonderful night and stay safe out there.
Yes.
Y'all too. And let me say this. The one thing about me is you never know what I'll do next. May virtue be everybody's. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Good night, everybody. We love y'all. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.